There it is. What's up, fellas?
What's going on?
Hey, buddy.
We are here. We are here with Greg as a special guest, our first guest on BALLCARD Banter. This is BALLCARD Banter episode 5, and he has graciously agreed to come on and his busy schedule and hang out with us for about an hour. So here we are. Shane, obviously regular co-host here. How have you been, sir?
Busy, but I'm glad we got Greg. I'm glad you made an hour in your schedule to appear here.
I'm honored to appear with you two fine gentlemen. Honored, truly.
Checks in the mail. So I'm with two of my favorite people on the planet, and obviously two of my favorite guys in the hobby. With Memorial Day coming up in less than a week here, all of us kind of are on the same page with respect for people, men and women who have served. And so Shane actually thought of the idea of doing an episode where we talk about and show some cards of some guys that served. And I know Greg is on board with that kind of thing, so I just figured this would be perfect to see if he wanted to come on. And tonight worked out well for all of us to get together. So here we are. But how are you, Greg?
I mean, I'm good. I've got 7 school days left.
Nice.
Eager to get those behind me. It's been a very, very interesting year. But yeah, I'm good. Again, you guys are two of my favorite people in the hobby, genuinely, not just saying that because you guys are here. And so to get to hang out and talk a little bit with you guys is long overdue.
It's the first time we've all three been on together. I wish Mookie could get off work to do it, but he can't. So we'll make the best of it and try to entertain him on his way home from work. So here we are. So are you? When is the National, Greg?
It's it straddles right at the very end of July and beginning of August.
Okay.
So it's like something like the 30th to the 2nd or 3rd or something like that.
Obviously, you're doing that, but are you taking the fam somewhere? Or anything after school is ending, or?
So when I was a kid, my family didn't have any money because my parents got divorced when I was like 5. They were both teachers. They both had houses, and we had no money to do anything ever. And so my mom is making up for that by spoiling her grandkids. And so Lucy is graduating high school this year. Lucy is taking her on a trip to go wherever she wants, and with a friend. Her friend is Molly, my oldest. And so my mom, Lucy, and Molly are going on a Mediterranean cruise. So they're going to be gone for like 10 days or something. So they're kind of booked up. We are going. Shane is our concert-loving friend. I'm going to a concert.
Yes.
I'm going to a concert on the 30th of May, I think it is. Is that a Saturday? The day after Lucy's graduation, the 4 of us are going to Coldplay.
Nice.
That's kind of a big concert. So we're doing that, but I don't have anything big right now. We're just kind of trying to recover for all of our funds from having a senior in high school and a sophomore in college.
Exactly. So last time you got to tag along on the Hawaii thing, but you're not tagging along on this one.
No, nope. So Megan and I might do something. We had our 20th anniversary a little over a year ago, and we're gonna do something. Then we postponed it, and we haven't ruled anything out for a last minute deal. So we'll see.
But do you play more golf when school ends?
I play more golf, but the problem is YouTube is cut into my golf time. So I will say this. This is breaking news. Yesterday, I played in the teacher versus student, the teacher versus golf team golf match that we have every year. And there is a trophy, a perpetual trophy. And the teachers had the cup from last year. And so we needed to retain the cup. And my foursome, my partner and I absolutely demolished the number 1 and number 2 players on the golf team. We won 4 and 3 in 9 holes. So we won 4 of the first 6 holes and tied 2. I started it off with a birdie on number 1. So
I love it.
That is breaking news right here at the banter box here we've got.
Dude, that is
Giving those
sick.
kids a dose of humility. I love it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I hit my drive on number 1. They looked at each other and they said, "We're screwed." And then I proceeded to birdie it, and I just ripped their heart out right in front of them. So it was fantastic.
See, that competitive spirit of Greg still lives no matter what he's doing.
I can't play board games to this day, my friend. They're still trying to get pieces of Scrabble tile that are embedded in the ceiling, you know?
Exactly.
Love it.
That was me. I had to quit volleyball because I couldn't let it go to the other players because I knew they wouldn't get it. So they made me leave, but I was good. But so Shane, obviously you've been super busy with work, but
just saving for retirement before AI replaces me.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Well, Greg is the original AI. He's got AI right in his name, even though he shouldn't. So, well, I got my grandfather's with me here. This is my dad's uniform, and
wow.
that he was a Marine in World War II. He was on Guadalcanal for like 16 months, saw all kinds of hell. His life, he never recovered from it. He never was out of the war till the day he died. I mean, obviously this all happened before my dad was born, and until he died, he was still mentally in the war. This is my grandfather on my mother's side. He's the one I'm named after, Taylor, my middle name, and then my son. He got sick, went home, never really saw any action. He literally lived the war and was deployed several times, and he was a sergeant. You can see all these medals. We went to a museum one time, me and my dad. He took this before my dad gave this to me. He had it and took it, and the guy said it was better than any of the uniforms he had there on display. So I'm just honored to be able to have some of this stuff that was used by him. He used to call me the little general. So I was actually both of their favorites. So I've always had a love for them. Obviously they've passed for some time now, but figured I'd get those out since we're doing the Memorial Day episode here.
That's an awesome personal touch. I love how you have the mannequin too. Like everything in your house, I swear, is set up like a museum. It seems like. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to
Very
do
cool.
that once I got the hat and I'm like, man, I got to try to do this. But yeah, I do have the flag from his funeral too. The military flag that they use and stuff. I have it all framed up, but it's impossible to put right here. So I figured these would represent a big part of why I love the men and women in the military and respect all of that. I probably would anyways, but you know what I mean? I was closer to these guys than anybody else doing it. So yeah, so we all picked out some cards. We all know some players that served in the military. And when I was doing some research for this, there's actually a lot more than I thought. And there was a lot later than I thought, the Vietnam guys and stuff. It was really interesting reading about that. We don't have time to get into every player's story and all that, but it was kind of interesting to see some of that and some of the surprising ones that aren't as obvious as the ones we always talk about. But a couple things before we get started with our regular ones. There was this one. Obviously, he was not, really fighting in the military and everything, but the Babe did have his time where they've made him join just for a recruiting effort, to get people to join and stuff like that. So he did. So that's a picture from that. This is a leaf card, low numbered type of card, but it talks about how he joined the National Guard. They made a big deal in Times Square, as a recruiting effort for people. So that's just kind of a bonus. And then this one here is not a particular person or anything, but I like these cards. These are pretty neat. But it has a piece of the uniform, and it talks about a World War I engineer. They did not make a World War II engineer card, which he was. He was laying the steel for the runways they would be making there on Guadalcanal for people to land. So since they didn't make a World War II one, I bought that card just to kind of represent that kind of stuff. But not a play or anything, but just kind of a couple cool cards. But the first one I show, I know is near and dear to Greg's heart. That's pretty easy to say, but that one there. How about Teddy Ballgame? This card, you might recognize the logo. Very special card. Graig had this for a long, long time. And now I have it in the midlife slab. Obviously,
one midlife slab. That's it.
And
one.
this is the
Wow.
It's a one of one. So he obviously really special to Graig. Graig, loves him. I've always loved him, and obviously he sacrificed a lot of his career. I mean, his numbers are already great, but we don't even know if he had 5 more years what those numbers would look like. That's why, I'm even in the conversation, even with Bonds and Ruth in existence, that he could have been maybe the greatest hitter of all time, because we really don't know. And of course, there's Josh Gibson. There's other stories of, we don't have the history there either. But with him, we know he could have gone a lot longer. And, it seems like his whole career was his prime. I mean, he just dominated, won Triple Crowns, and was just an amazing, amazing hitter. So that is my first one.
So not to go off topic, because that's your thing, Graig, but why did you stop at just one custom midlife slab?
That's a good question. So when at the National last year, they gave you like in the VIP, I don't know, whatever the thing is, they hand you a bag of crap, and in the bag of crap was one of those label slabs, and I was sort of like, I know a lot of guys are doing this, and that's cool. I don't think that's something that I'm gonna start doing, but I get it. And so I was just like, I was trying to see, I don't have, like, there are guys that give gifts that are just like, I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, this is like, this is insane. One of which I'll show you here in just a second. And I'm just like, the way I try to give gifts is more thoughtful things, meaningful things from my personal collection. And so I was like, I want to get something cool for Brent, but I don't know what I could give him that would be meaningful. And I know he does those. He does the personalized slabs. So I'm like, well, he's into them, and this would be a card that I think would be cool. So I'm just gonna do this. I don't know. Maybe there will be a second one at some point, but it's been almost a year, and there's still only one.
I think I like the one of one thing, but yeah, it's obviously super meaningful. That's the kind of gifts I like to get. That's the kind of gifts I like to give.
Yeah.
So, we're not rich folks around here. Well, all three of us are pretty normal people, but we have some good friends with big hearts, and getting things that are meaningful is the best. But Graig, since you are the guest, you are next up.
Well, my decision on what to do would be this one. This is the biggest gift I've ever gotten, and it was not sent from anyone that either of you guys know. I'll just leave it at that. But this is a 1948 Bowman Yogi Berra rookie card in an SGC 5. Now, Yogi was a gunner, I believe, and was part of the D-Day assault, and which is incredible. It's absolutely incredible, right?
Yeah.
And who Yogi Berra is just like, if I had to pick one guy of all time, when you factor in personality, character, like talent, like legendary status, all of it, I mean, he's on the shortest of the short lists.
Right.
My dad, the first baseball card my dad ever saw was a 55 Topps Yogi Berra.
Okay.
And he was a big Yogi Berra fan. For a while, he wanted to be a catcher because Yogi Berra was a catcher. And
I love that.
We love Yogi. I got to ride in the elevator with Yogi. I've had a few conversations with Yogi, but he's the best.
Yeah, Yogi is amazing. He missed the Red Sox, but we got Astros, Yankees, and Mets covered with Mookie. So he almost was.
He had to draw the line somewhere,
Red Sox weren't winning any championships, when he was racking them up. So
maybe it's because he wasn't on the team.
I think there might be something there.
Yeah, this is true. All right, Shane, what you got next?
Well, I'm going to do my first two, and you'll see why in a second.
Okay.
But I had to go with the Yogi Berra as well.
Nice.
Just knowing that Graig was going to be on, had to get a Yankee in there begrudgingly.
Yeah.
But yeah, same. Everything Graig said. I think he was 19 years old when he participated in D-Day, and he was like a machine gunner. So I think he went in first and like helped clear the shoreline before all the landing craft came in. And it's just, to me, like as somebody who was born in the 1980s, like I've been a very privileged, I've led a very privileged existence, and I can't imagine being 19 years old and being plopped into that scenario halfway across the world. It's just,
No.
Anything that he did in the game of baseball aside, just that is mind blowing.
It really is completely.
In Saving Private Ryan, they say that some of the like guys that served that were in basically that exact situation were like freaking out, having like flashbacks and like meltdowns because it was so much like what it was like.
Yeah.
I watch those films and things, and I am personally, I don't think I'm that courageous. It's amazing what those guys did. So I had to get Yogi Berra in there.
Yeah, and absolutely, they were all kids. The guys fighting were all kids, and
19 years old in Yogi's
we don't think about that all the time, but I mean, these were not 30-something-year-olds out there on the field. Just amazing.
And then I'm going to jump ahead to my second one because you named him as well, but had to go with Ted Williams. Obviously, being a Red Sox fan, got to balance out the Yankees here. And I always like this particular Stadium Club card because he's actually standing with like an enlistment poster from when he re-enlisted, I think, for the Korean War. But I mean, ditto, everything that you said applies. Gave up 2 different stints, a 3-year stint in World War II, and then parts of 2 more seasons for the Korean War later on. So yeah, you look at the numbers he was able to put up, and you just have to wonder, what it might have been if he hadn't made those sacrifices.
Yeah, just incredible. And I know Greg loves him too, even though he's a Red Sox. It's
probably the greatest player to ever play for my favorite team, so I had to include him.
Yeah, exactly. Next up is one I didn't know a lot about until I started researching it as far as what he did in the military, but we got a members only. There's only 7 copies of this in the world, but there's Whitey Ford there. A pretty cool image, but with that stamp on it, there's only 7 of these made. They don't number them, but they did have stated print runs. So, yeah, he served in the military. Another dominant Yankee, of course. I did not pull this because of Greg, but it just happens to work out well. But yeah, it's a cool card, cool image, wonderful, great player. Obviously, the key guy pitching for those teams for sure. But very, very cool card, and obviously we appreciate what he did in the military.
All right, I'm up. So I'm going to go with Ted. I've got, and I love Ted. I got to meet Ted. Still have a picture. I've shared it, I think, on the channel of me with him. But the thing that is craziest is, and I just pulled it up because I was thinking this was the case, but I couldn't quite remember. But he won the Triple Crown the year before he missed 3 years.
Yeah.
And he won the MVP the year he came back after those 3 years. So to say that he would have had 3 probably pretty decent years, I think is very fair to say. Yeah. So this is 51 Bowman.
Oh yeah, it's a beauty.
Ted Williams. Yeah, I've lucked into this card. I absolutely loved it. As soon as I saw it, it popped up on eBay, and I clicked buy it now probably 5 minutes after it posted. It was a crazy good deal.
Yeah, that's
and then
beauty.
I'll cheat and show this one too.
Oh yeah.
56 Topps Ted Williams. Just
56.
I love the guy. I love his cards. One of my biggest goal cards is the 39 play ball. I mean, I'd love to have that. There aren't a lot of guys I want a full run of, but he's one of the guys that I would really be interested in doing that. So
yeah, that'd be a nice run. No, it'd be an expensive run, but it'd be a nice run.
But not as expensive as it should be.
Exactly.
He's way, other than his rookie card, everything's pretty affordable. It doesn't really make sense.
It doesn't. Mantle gets all the love. But are you going after one of those at the National, or you just not making the list?
I mean, the 39 play ball, I don't think I'd have enough for what I want, but
Mhm.
I certainly am open to that. I usually kind of go and I try to grab a big card, and then once I grab a big card, then I go, well, what do I have? What do I have left?
Yeah.
And then I start pretty narrowly focused, and then once I get something that now my budget makes it much wider. So
Yeah. Yeah. Would you ever go and just buy one card?
yeah, oh yeah, I'd go and buy no cards.
Yeah.
I would go and buy no cards. I don't have to pick up a card for it to be a successful trip for something
But
like that.
but if you ran into the perfect copy that was just your whole budget, you would do it.
Yeah, no, with no hesitation. First table I walked up to, first card I saw, I wouldn't hesitate.
Yeah. Love that. Love it. All right, Mr. Shane.
All right. Well, first, I just got to give a shout out because this was going to be my Ted Williams card before I found the Stadium Club one. So yeah, that is an absolute winner. I think that's my favorite that I have too. So
Yeah,
I love it.
love it.
So for any pose with the stadium in the background, I love those cards, especially on the vintage. It just, man. But yeah, I'm kind of like Greg in with the vintage. I have to have the right copy, and usually I can't afford the copy that I would actually want. So
Yeah, that one's a 2, so that helps.
I just stay in my lane. Yeah, luckily, you know, there is the possibility of finding these good eye appeal lower grade cards, and obviously Dylan and everybody else is doing that. So yeah.
So I went with a name that I don't hear as often, but a teammate, and it's Bobby Dorr. In this case, this is his 49 Bowman. So he missed only one season, 1945, and he was stationed out in California. And not as extreme as Ted Williams, of course, but like the same general idea where the year before, in 1944, he was a top 10 in MVP voting, and the year after, in 1946, he was top 10 in MVP voting. So just another guy that, stepped away from the game like at his absolute peak and missed out on a whole season of stats. He wasn't deployed overseas. He didn't see any combat or anything that I'm aware of, but I just thought it was cool. I don't really hear his name referenced too much in terms of his military career, so thought he would be a cool one to mention.
Yeah, for sure. I like that. I like that a lot. Next one up, we're going way back. Obviously, it's a modern card, but Christy Mathewson, and I just love this set. This is the class of 36, so it's the initial class of the guys that went in the 5, and this is the Mathewson, but it's just a beauty if you can pick up the shine there. But he served, and that, it's got the picture in the background of all the guys from the initial class just sitting there posing for the picture. Then you got the portrait in the middle, but just Upper Deck did some amazing stuff when they were doing baseball. And this is one of my favorite sets, just the initial class of 36, just card, and he served as well. So I had to represent him. I had a couple of different cards, but can't get around this one. Even though it's not an action shot, just something cool about that portrait there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful image.
Matt.
It's kind of like it looks almost like a dollar bill or something, the way that his
it's kind of
oval.
Yeah, it's got a lot of gold leaf. Just looks really cool, but yeah, it's kind of got that dollar bill look to it.
I remember seeing that set in the early days of your channel and then immediately going over to ComC and buying like all 5 of them. It was one of the early examples of your channel costing me money. So thanks, Brent.
That was true, but that was luckily one of the cheapest things you could possibly buy that's actually awesome looking. But yeah, that was toward the beginning. Oh man.
All right, I'm back up. So I'm gonna stick with 51 Bowman.
Okay.
And I'm gonna show my Monty Irvin rookie card.
Yeah.
So this isn't just a 3 grade or whatever, but I don't know. I think it's fantastic. I know he served and was in multiple different countries that he was deployed in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was one of the Battle of the Bulge guys, if I'm not mistaken, that our buddy Jay does. He collects Battle of the Bulge guys, I think.
Nice.
And I wanted a Monty Irvin rookie. I think he's one of these bridge guys that gets overlooked because the stats are kind of incomplete. And then there's the military service. And when you kind of piece it all together, you go, wait a second, that guy was pretty good. I mean, he took his team to the World Series and was a pretty important player in 51. So I wanted to include that one.
Yeah, that's a great player. When did you get that one?
Oh, I've had this maybe, I'd guess 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an underrated card right there. Love that card.
I agree.
You bought it about the time you started the channel then, huh?
Maybe before that. Yeah, the channel's 2.5 years old, so probably a little before that.
Gotcha. All right.
All right, next up, I got Bob Feller. I went with, who's definitely one of the more famous ones for sure. But he, I think, walked away from baseball like the day after Pearl Harbor. If I'm getting my story straight, he walked away from like a 6-figure contract, which was a ton of money back then, and enlisted in the Navy. And I think at first the idea was for him to play baseball to like entertain the soldiers, but he wanted to go beyond that. So he actually went to gunnery school and ended up like on an aircraft carrier deployed in the Pacific for, I think, over 2 years. And again, what would have been the prime of his career. In fact, this card is for 1946. He struck out 348 batters. So this card is like the year, the very year that he returned from his tours of the Pacific, and he was striking out almost 350 guys. So it just goes to show you what he may have accomplished in those missed seasons.
Another one. I mean, just amazing pitcher. All-time great and still served. Well, great minds think alike. So now you're showing me up with the autograph there, but this is one of my favorite images of all time. So I just had to show this rainbow foil there. It's one of my favorite cards in my collection, just as far as the way it looks. Just it's my favorite image of him. And everything you said obviously just still stands. But he was mowing them down. And
I love the striped socks on that one.
Dude,
yeah, that's awesome.
Everything about that image is just so killer. If there was there's some vintage cards I want. I still want that 54 scoop to go with my Ruth that Graig helped me acquire. But the problem is it's one of those that, like we're talking about, there are no eye appeal ones. I mean, they're just not. It may be a long time. It took forever to find that Ruth. And of course, it's not a perfect card by any means. It's probably a 3 or 4 or something. Who knows? But it's centering. It's got a good eye appeal. A lot of them have the black peel on the front and stuff. But the Feller is just about impossible to find any kind of centering, any kind of eye appeal. So I haven't got the scoop, which would be he's got the super high leg kick in that shot. He's way up there. But this one here will serve as mine. So we got a couple Fellers in a row there.
All right. Talking about high leg kick, guys. I got to go with my boy Warren.
Yes.
Good looking guy. And I know that there's another guy on here who likes one of his other cards. So I'm going to cheat again and show that one too. Again, when that guy pitched forever, I mean, his 65 tops card, he looks like he's like 100, and he missed time. I mean, just imagine if he didn't miss time. I mean, that's the part that I just don't think anybody takes into account when they look at a lot of these guys' stats, because baseball's always been a stat thing. Yeah. And this card was also a gift. This card was given to me from Darren of Return to Collecting. And, I don't know. It's such a shame, but it, to me, adds to why these guys are important, because they missed time from their career, from making money, from their fame, from their fortune, so that they could do what needed to be done. And so it's just more reason. It's like if you take away those stats that they lost out on, I think that the service, and for my interest in my heart, is way more valuable than that. And for some people, they just look at the stat line.
They just look at the stats. But that's why we're all three here, because that's the way we all feel. So
And I hope we never have to find out or put it to the test. And maybe I'm not giving them enough credit, but I don't feel like if a conflict broke out today that you'd be seeing the top athletes in our country jump into service. You know, maybe it's unfair of me to say that. I don't know them personally, but it does seem like that was just a different generation.
Yeah, the lifestyle of these guys is completely different now. So, but that Bowman card there, and then the Musial. I mean, there's just some gorgeous cards in those.
I think the way war is fought now is so different too that you don't need the infantry numbers. So it probably would never need to happen. But I think that you might be onto something.
Well, that card was a perfect segue too, because I had to, of course, go with Warren Spahn for my last card, if for no other reason than to finally show one that at least approaches the beauty of Greg's. I don't think this is a midlife cards copy.
Mine's just a crummy 4. Yours is a beautiful 5.
Yeah, but I have been, as I've told you numerous times, I've been envious of your copy of that card for a long time. So I finally got my own about a month ago. And
tough one to find centered.
Brutal. But yeah, I mean, just like you said, he possibly would have been third all time in wins if he hadn't served that time, behind only really Cy Young and I think Walter Johnson. So, and he still had over 350 wins, even with all that missed time. So just incredible. And I think he was a Battle of the Bulge guy also, and maybe won a Purple Heart too, or was awarded a Purple Heart. So how can you not respect that? 360 wins at the major league level and a Purple Heart.
Yeah, basically Greg Maddox plus serve time. So it's impossible. Yeah, these guys. I'm glad I almost had pulled a card of his. I'm glad I didn't. We'd have had a whole bunch of those in a row. But my last one is none other than Jackie, and I wanted to just pull one from this set because I have a few of all these guys we're talking about. But obviously he didn't wear this uniform, but it's cool that they have a period uniform, on this card. But there's Jackie there. So that is not a piece of that uniform, but it's a great picture of him in uniform. And you got the piece right there. So this is a really, really tough card to find. And I do have a few other of the guys. But this one I just figured I'd end with Jackie. Just a super cool set. Really obscure set. But very, very cool cards they made of these guys. And I just love having a piece of history on there, even though it's not his history. They made some of them with fake dog tags, but they're literally just fake. These are at least real uniforms, even though they're not player worn. So I think it's really, really neat. And this one's like one of the really fuzzy, thick jackets. And I just thought it was super cool. So that's my final one there.
The perfect Brent Richards card. You find the most unique stuff, I'm telling you. Yeah.
He does. I'm going with Jackie last too.
Nice. I love 55.
This is my favorite looking Jackie card.
Okay.
It's my only Jackie card. The reason I went for it first is because, I don't know, there's something about that yellow background that year. There's a lot of the good looking cards have that yellow background, and I feel like the profile shot just pops of those guys, that portrait shot. And there's a bunch of cool ones. The Sandy Koufax is the same way, and there's some good cards. The Killer Brew's got a light background. I love that set. So
it stands
World Series championship here for the Dodgers too, I think, in 55. That makes it even cooler. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know both of you have a lot of respect for the 52. That card is
it's one I hope to own someday. Yeah.
I'm gonna retire instead.
Right.
It's a big card, and it's kind of getting bigger, right? So, oh man, that's an awesome card. But that 55 is beautiful. I love the way they stand out against the lighter background. Kind of like the Banks rookie, it's kind of white, and he just stands out against that. Just it really just adds to it. That 54, that's your favorite set, right, Greg? 54. You waffle a little bit.
I mean, I like the 54 set a lot, and I like the big 3 rookie cards a lot.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't know if I don't think I have a favorite. I've said at times the 52. I've said the 54. I've said the 55.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I love 56. I love 65. Yeah, I love the layout of the 54. They needed to put 4 borders on it. I can't get around the 3 borders.
Yeah.
It's just the way my brain works. Maybe OCD, but oh my goodness. All right. Well, we are done with that section. So now we are just going to look at some random stuff in our collection. We call this the Appreciating Our Collections segment, where we just look at stuff and not necessarily have to always pick up new stuff. This could be anything that could be valuable. It could have a story to it. It could be worth 1 penny. But we just show some random stuff. I'll start out with this one. I just love the image. This is like some hand-cut card from '92. So this would have been Bagwell's second year, probably a rookie photo. But just the image on this thing, the eye black. I wish they would have made a Topps card or something of this. But since they didn't, this will serve. But it's just not something you see every day. It's kind of an oddball issue. But just a super cool picture of him, young Bagwell, after we stole him from Shane. And
yep.
But super random, but super cool looking image, which of course, if you know me, that's a big part of why I collect is just seeing great images of these guys.
I appreciate you rubbing that in too. I was telling Brent, I think he's got a documentary coming out. I was telling Brent I'm going to have to fast forward the first 10 minutes so I don't have to hear about the trade from Boston. So.
There's a Netflix documentary coming out called Underdog or something.
Now, the card I'm going to show is I'm going to show a couple of modern cards in my appreciation cards. This is from 1987, and I guarantee you will never see one of these anywhere else. Okay,
I love this.
That
yeah. Oh yeah.
Is a 1987 Graig Miller.
Look at the attitude.
On the ace.
He had a competitive drive.
On the back, check this out. It says the favorite player, Greg Nettles. Favorite team, New York Yankees. But my favorite is the height. Height, 4 foot tall.
Nice. Nice.
So that,
you were pretty grown back then.
I'm not Dylan. That is a true one of my friends. Now, I'll give you another piece of trivia about this.
I'm going to say that's there's tiger right there.
There's somebody out there. There's somebody out there that's a skateboard fan that's into the skateboard scene. I don't know who it is, but somebody hearing this is into skateboards. And a pretty famous street skateboarder who has his own Nike line of shoes is named Stefan Janowski. Okay. Stefan Janowski was on that team with me.
No way.
Yeah.
Man. You look like you were all business. Like they were telling you to smile, but you're just dead serious there.
Yeah. I was not playing around. I was 8.
You are now. I gotta grab something.
If I'm like an 8-year-old and I'm on the mound and I see that look in the batter's box, I'm gonna like fake a stomach ache or something.
Oh yeah, that Easton bat too is classic.
Miller the Killer, I'm telling you, man, it's insane. Well, we've shown the very skinny Babe Ruth rookie card of my son, but I don't think I've shown this. This would be like his first Bowman. So this year, I picked the '82 Topps because of Ripken design when I made this when he was way smaller.
Oh wow! Look at that guy.
There you go. But it was kind of cool because we sent this image in, and the Astros actually posted on their website for the kid of the day or whatever. So I got some screenshots of that. But I made the '82 Topps, and it's got stuff about him back, But this was one of like the the professionally made ones. But yeah, that's way before even this. But since you showed me that kid card, I had to show you.
I wish I had pulled mine out, but for the next ball card banter, I'll find one of my Little League cards so I can join in the fun.
You got the hockey card, right?
I got hockey, soccer, but I played all sports growing up. But this first one's kind of lazy. Like I felt like the guy who didn't do my homework, and I was just looking around at piles of cards like 10 minutes before the video. But this is a Brooks Robinson auto. I actually pulled this back in the day. This was in 2011. I actually used to buy blasters and open a lot of packs. I collected a lot differently, was still kind of feeling my way around, and pulled this on-card auto out of a Target blaster, and just held on to it ever since. I love the autograph. It's like a huge bold auto right across the bottom of the card. So don't think I've ever shown that one before, so it made the cut.
That's awesome.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. My dad loved Brooksy too. I've always had a respect for him. Just amazing. Amazing. I don't have any of his autographs, unfortunately, yet, but I will rectify that at some point.
He signed a lot, so they're not
rare. Yeah.
Yep.
They're just cool. I need to have that. But that story I told about Frank Robinson, meeting Frank, and he was not a pleasant guy. but my dad's hero being Brooksy, we were in spring training and they were doing the broadcast or whatever. And so we were waited by the elevator because my dad wanted to have Brooks Robinson come down from the booth. And, the elevators actually went to the parking lot so you could just stand there, And the doors open and it was Frank, not Brooks. But and he would not sign for anybody. My dad's like, look, my son's right there, just one. And Frank looked at him and said, it's never just one. And then he just walked away.
Jeez.
Like, oh, man.
Maybe he sensed your disappointment that you were rooting for Brooks and you got Frank instead.
He probably knew we were waiting for the other Robinson. This next one, probably not a lot of people know about. There's a couple different years of these. But Foot Locker made some cards of a slam fest. So a bunch of celebrities and athletes did a slam fest where they were dunking basketballs, just slam fest, just like what it would sound. But here is a Bo Jackson. So not something you see every day. You got the referee there for Foot Locker.
Huh.
It's pretty cool card. But there's a bunch of cool cards in this set. There's quite a few neat ones, but Bo is kind of one of the bigger ones, bigger names in there. But not being a basketball guy, but obviously two other sports, kind of neat to see him there. And just, that's what the backs look like. Nothing special, but just kind of cool, off the radar.
Do you know when those came out?
It was the late 80s, but I think there's like an 88, 89 set, something like that. I actually have all of them. But I had top loaded this one because it was kind of the one I really was trying to get out of the set. So I figured I hadn't shown that on the channel, so figured I'd go with that.
Everybody focuses on the Hall of Fame, and he's not in, but man, back in the day, he was the man. He was everywhere in the hobby.
Dude, the
Bonos, all those Broder cards.
Yeah. Greg doesn't know this, but the other day, a short print variation where it shows it's the only Bo Jackson card with him breaking the bat that I don't have. It's a short print from Stadium Club. It's not numbered or anything like that. But I told Shane about it the other day, and I was going to bid on it. It went for $860.
Jeez.
The love for Bo is strong. I mean, this is not a rainbow foil. This is literally just a Stadium Club card with a different picture on it, but it shows him breaking the bat. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to try to get this because they never come up. And boy, did people bid on that thing. So Hall of Fame or not, people love that guy.
I was at a card show maybe 6 months ago, and Bo was signing, and there were only like maybe 15 people that got his autograph, and he was just sitting there. And I was at a case, and they had a Desert Shield Bo Jackson card in like an 8.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, and I think he wanted like, I don't know, $250. And I was like, dude, if I got that and I snap that out real quick and then I go over and I get him to sign it, that'd be pretty freaking cool. And I don't have a lot of regret, but I kind of regret not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right. Mine has a little story behind it. So this is a 1958
nice
Sandy Koufax, and it's in a 5.5 holder. And the reason I picked this one is because I wanted to pick, for some of these at least, a card that had a little bit of a story. So some of you may remember the episode that I did where my dad bought a shoebox full of cards from an estate sale. This is the card I have from that purchase.
Okay.
So this
and you
is
sent it
a
off.
shoebox. And I sent it off, and it got a 5.5.
Nice. Did he just say take it, or did y'all work out some kind of deal?
No, I paid him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does he still have the rest of those, or has he sold them over time?
He sold most of those off. Yeah, he sold most of them off. He got some graded, some to some set builders, and my dad's favorite thing to do ever in the hobby is to use the hobby to pay for his hobby. So he loves buying stuff. In fact, probably going to be Friday, might end up being Saturday. I've got a video that I'm going to share about some stuff that he kind of found that was a better deal than it first appeared. And he just loves feeling like he's buying cards for free because he bought something for this, sold it for that, plus some, then using the extra to go buy something and going like no guilt kind of thing.
Yeah.
He's really into that. So a lot of those cards, that's what he did with it.
Your dad and Shane are the only people I know that can do that. There.
Yeah, I like his style. I try to self-fund my hobby as much as I possibly
there's another friend of ours who's missing in this this trio right now, who is very big on buying off the wall stuff that he knows has value, and
he's good at it.
Very good at it.
How awesome is that though? Like that's something I would literally dream about as a kid, going to an estate sale and finding a whole shoebox of vintage baseball cards. Like that's just killer.
When he bought them, he didn't even look through all of them. He was flipping through them, and he's like, "There's some good stuff in here." And there's another guy looking through some of them, and there was like a 1960 McCovey, and he looked through a fair amount of them, but not all of them by any means.
Yeah.
And then he just went and said, well, "What do you want for it?" And they're like, they said, I don't know, like $200 or something. I don't remember what it was. And then, you always have to make an offer. He's like, "How about like 170 or whatever it was?"
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, that's fine. And then he didn't look through the rest of them until I came over and I set up the camera and we started recording. So like literally some of those were the first time he saw them too.
Yeah. Yeah, knowing him, is probably a PSA 9 mantle in there somewhere.
There was a 58 mantle, and I think it got a 3.
Okay.
I think it got a 3. Yeah.
But yeah, he's done well with his eye over the years for sure.
Yeah.
Well, my next one's going to be anticlimactic after that awesome story and vintage card, but sometimes just a funny image is what gets me. So I don't know if you've ever seen this one, Brent.
What in the world?
If you haven't, I'm going to send it to you. This is Lance Berkman, and for some reason he's depicted wearing the giant like sumo suit here with the baseball bat. It's a minor league card from I think like maybe the year 2000, but just an image you won't see anywhere else probably.
I got to get one from my oddball cards.
Oh, I'm gonna after this video, I'm gonna drop it in the stack I got going for you. So.
I got a little small stack over here going for you guys too. Yeah, that's amazing, dude.
Ran across it. I was like, that's the Brent card right there. So.
That is hilarious. Speaking of oddball stuff, and I knew I didn't have I didn't show a Yogi card with the military portion of our program. So I figured I'd show this one here. But this is a police issued card. I think it's 87. So it's picturing the 86 when we were actually having a good year until Mookie's Mets destroyed us. But there is the post Yankees and Mets Yogi Berra on the coaches there. So a lot of people know about that team card. It's on 87 tops. That's obviously floating around everywhere. But the police issue with him pictured there with the Astros, with the rainbow seats in the background with the coaches is, not something you see all the time. So there's another one of our war hero cards, but just a very unusual one. Just happened to come in a set that I bought. I bought it for Ryan. Then I was flipping through it, and I'm like, wow, look at that. It's got Yogi.
It's a much better image than the Topps leaders card too.
Yeah, this is a posed photo. It's way, way better. The Topps one I have back here is autographed by him, so that's it's a cool thing. But I've shown that before. I haven't shown this one.
When I was a kid, I collected not just Clemens. There were a few guys that I collected, and some of them were not superstars by any means. Like guys that I could kind of see myself in. Like the reason I went after Clemens is because the year after that A's team, I was on the Red Sox and I was our main pitcher, and that was 1988. And Clemens was a stud pitcher for the Red Sox in '88, and so I saw myself in him, and that's what drew me to him initially. And another player that I loved a lot, and this is from my childhood collection. This is from one of my best favorite cards from my childhood. I've probably had this card for, I don't know, over 35 years, and that's 86 Topps Traded Will Clark.
Yes.
To me, this is one of the best looking cards of all time. There's just something about it that just absolutely checks every box for me.
Yeah.
And I love this card, and this is the exact one I've had since I was a kid. I had a full run of Will Clark cards for years. I collect Robbie Thompson, who was the second baseman on that team.
Yep.
I collected Jody Reed because I'd watch Clemens games and I'd see Jody. I mean, I collected a lot of guys besides just Clemens. So I know that there are some people out there that think collectors back then were only collecting hits, but I disagree with that.
No, I may or may not have bought a massive Will Clark card today. So once that gets through authentication, I will have to be sharing that. It's freaking amazing. But yeah, I love that card. I always remember he had that kind of wry smile. It was kind of a sideways smile. His middle name was Nuschler, and his teammates called that the Nuschler, that smile he had. So they had a nickname. They had a nickname for the smile. And of course he was Will the Thrill and, the Natural, all that kind of stuff. He was an absolute stud when he came up. Obviously didn't make the Hall, but if you know me, I don't care about that stuff.
I don't know. I don't think it's impossible he eventually gets in.
He was on that track, but I still love him. He still has a pretty good following. But yeah, I got an amazing card today. I sold some stuff to buy it. So yeah, very cool that you showed that. And I know Shoebox is a big
Greg just earned about 1,000 cool points in my book. That the 86 traded Will Clark was like one of the best cards of my youth.
Fantastic card.
Absolutely.
Well, since I'm gonna jump to a different one here, since Greg mentioned Clemens, but I pulled this one, which is this is a buyback version of the 91 Topps. So it's 2016 Topps, like a 65th anniversary silver stamp. But I know this card and this photograph in particular is one that I've seen Greg replicate, and I know Brent got involved as well. So I figured this was the perfect buyback. I wanted to include one buyback in my group of 5, and this was an easy choice. So
I was hoping you'd have a buyback. I'm not even sure I knew you had that one. That's amazing.
It's going right into the Frankenstein album after the video tonight. So
yeah, it has to have a spot, man. It's got to.
Just all-time image.
Yes. Yeah, and I got
Hold on. I gotta show you my.
I know. I got
There
my mirror to Greg image. There it is, right there.
How perfect is that?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I got that Desert Shield Greg gave me next to his card. But yeah, that's obviously just one of the best cards of that whole set, and just amazing. I may or may not have gotten a buyback from that set today. But I did. But yeah, that's not my next one. My next one, I guess we have 2 left. I'll save this one for last. But the man behind Pacific Trading Cards, and he was kind of like Jim Beckett, in the 70s. They were both just big collectors. And then Dr. Beckett, started the price guide thing, and Mike Kramer, here's his book. He started Pacific Trading Card Company. And if you ordered this book directly from his website, he does like miniatures now. He like paints and does miniatures. But if you go on that site, he will do a personalized autograph for you on the book. So very cool book about his story and all that kind of stuff with Pacific Trading Cards. I haven't made it all the way through there yet, but wonderful, wonderful book. But anyways, his first thing he ever did was the Phoenix Giants in '75. So like the year I was born, they asked him to do the team set, and it was the first cards he ever made. It was a Circle K was the sponsor. So not a lot of people have seen this. And in all the millions and millions of cards that he's made over his life before he sold the company, the only time he ever had a card of himself was in that first set. So it's a minor league set. Michael J. Kramer. And he had some long hair, but he was a big collector. He's actually holding Babe Ruth cards and Ted Williams cards and stuff here, but there's the card. So that is Mike Kramer himself. He was asked to put this in there. He wouldn't have even done it just on his own volition, but they wanted him to be able to promote himself and making cards and stuff. Of course, he went on to make tons and tons of cards, but this is back in the 70s, and it's the only time he never wanted to make another card of himself. He just needed this to promote back in those days and give people this kind of like a business card. And so he put himself in that set for that reason. But very, very cool, very rare, but just a neat part of, baseball card history. Since we're baseball card guys, that's just kind of a neat one. I hadn't shown or told this story. If I start making the Pacific videos on all the stuff, it'll be several episodes. So I haven't started that yet, but that's just a really cool.
There's so much history to those sets. It's kind of, I know that another guy, isn't it Adam, collects
Yeah, I
a
was
lot
gonna
of the
say.
Pacific stuff. Yeah.
If he hasn't seen that, Adam at Splendid Sports, he would love to see that card.
Yeah. He did the vintage stuff. He did some really, really cool things before he even did all the shining. Of course, he started Prism. Now the Prism now was bought from that. They just changed the spelling of the name, but a lot of history. Of course, those Nolan Ryan sets we all got as kids. The box sets. I mean, he sold millions of those things. But yeah, very, very cool.
So I like an opportunity like this because it allows me to show some stuff that I don't normally show. Is when I show any 5 things, I'm like, well, I haven't shown that in a long time.
Love it.
So just a reminder, I collect golf cards too.
Yeah,
and that's
nice.
Walter Hagen, and this is a 33 Sport King, which is part of the whole Gowdy thing. And I love this set. There are 3 golfers. In most sports, there's 3. Baseball, I know there are 3, and I have 2 of the 3. It's Gene Sarazen, Walter Hagen, and then the last is Bobby Jones. And this one I have in a 4.5, and it's a beautiful card. And so I just wanted to take the opportunity to show a vintage golf card because I have a decent amount of those in my collection.
Yeah, that's super cool. What was the first Jack Nicklaus?
So there's some smaller like offshoot type things. So if you were to say what's his rookie card, there would be about 5 different cards that people would point to. So the one that a lot of people point to, like the first one that you actually would find, I don't remember who made it, but it's very expensive. It's not, I mean, I know what it looks like in my head. I don't know the name of the set. It's kind of a distant shot of him swinging, and it's very expensive because it's rare, because it's this small little regional release type thing. So that's not a card I'll ever have. I have the first Ben Hogan. Ben Hogan's first card was a Burke Ross.
Okay, yeah.
It just kind of depends on the guy.
So what
I
was
love
that?
that.
What was that?
There are 4. Sorry, Brent.
No, go ahead.
There's 4 hockey players on that Sport Kings checklist, and I collected all 4 of those years back. I got to do a video at some point, but awesome cards.
Yeah, we got to see that too. What was that golf set that you collected all of? Was that 80?
Me?
Yeah.
I have the 81 and 82 set. It's not in binders. I have them in top loaders and sets, but 81 and 82 Donruss were the first wide release. So sometimes people call those rookie cards. They're not really. I have several of those signed as well. I have a Hale Irwin signed, a Curtis Strange, a Tom Watson, a Lee Trevino. Got a bunch of those signed. Nicholas doesn't sign He won't sign cards. So you have to get something different from him. But yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, This is not technically a card, but it's in your stack to send to you. And then the story behind this, I'll have to leave for another day. But this is 1966 Sporting News, and this is in your stack. But this is 1966.
Oh wow, that's cool.
So a 66 Jack.
That is very cool.
Way before a lot of the cards that we know, and it happens to have Hogan.
Oh wow.
But I did some hand cutting for you there. But yeah, that's in your stack. But see, I wouldn't have brought it up, but now that you brought it,
that's awesome.
That's in there. So that's pretty cool.
Very cool.
All right, this one's quick. It's just a card I bought within the last year, actually, on ComC. Okay. And I sent it direct to PSA for grading. So they have a service for like $22. You can send a card straight from ComC to PSA, and then they'll ship it back to your inventory on ComC. So it's a game-used bat card of Roger Maris.
Oh, yeah.
From Topps Heritage. And what I love about it is obviously it uses the image from 1961 Topps. Mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of the AL home run record and collecting cards related to that. So just the combination of the 61 image and the game used bat, on one card. It was a cheap pickup, like $20. I probably spent more grading it than I did buying it, but I just wanted to get it in a consistent slab with my other Roger Maris cards. So,
dude, I love it. That is just sick. Already a lot of people's favorite Maris card, and you got a piece of bat there with the
that's
image.
Awesome.
Yeah, that is super cool. All right, this one I saved for last. This is the closest thing I have to a pirate card, so this is going to be. But this is 1889 N33 Allen & Ginter, one of the best copies of this card on the planet, one of the most beautiful cards, and is a Sir Walter Raleigh rookie card.
That's cool.
I think it is one of the most gorgeous cards ever. I have an affinity for like tobacco pipes and Sherlock and just that whole kind of old world feel to all this kind of stuff. This card is impossible, and I bought it raw from overseas just on the hope that it was real and it was in as good a shape as I thought it was. I sent it off. We got a 5. It's probably one of the top 2 or 3 copies on the planet of that one. Wow. The artwork is just so beautiful. And it's way before all his other cards. He's got some look and sees. He's got some stuff, it's old now, but compared to this, for this to be that centered and that nice. So, he was sailing around. He wasn't a pirate, but it's the closest thing. So, closest thing for Graig. But that's my oldest card by far.
That's awesome.
We got that card. You saw your episode on the 1970s. We're seeing some different facets of Brent Richards here. He's not only modern, it turns out.
Yeah. And then the last one, I didn't show any cards. I just made people laugh. So you never know. You never know what's coming.
I didn't know if you're going to show your Sherlock Holmes card.
I thought about it. But we've both shown it before, so I figured, well, maybe not.
Yeah. So a card I haven't shown in a minute, and it's one of the things before a big show like the National or Strong Sills. I'm always going through my stuff, and I'm always going like, okay, is there anything that I'm willing to liquidate? As we're always trying to fine tune and weed stuff out. And so much of my stuff I don't want to liquidate. But if I found a big card that I had to reach for and then pay myself back, a card that is got, because you don't want to do that with like $100 card, because you're like, what's the point? So you want it to be a card that has some value, but so a card that isn't impossible, that if something crazy happened at the National, I might have to part with, but I don't want to part with, is this M101 Casey Stengel.
Oh, wow.
And these M101s, if they have a blank back, they call them Sporting News, and then there's an ad back Sporting News, and there's a bunch of different backs to these, because they'd print them and then they'd different advertisers. But of this blank back one, I think this is a pop 8.
Okay.
And I think there's only maybe 2 or 3 that are higher than this 2.5. I like having a Casey Stengel card. Now, a lot of people would consider this his rookie card. I think there's one card that might be like a hand cut card that might be a little older than that one, but not much. So a lot of people would say that would be a rookie card. The reason I'm not as attached to that is some of the times when there's like a big story attached, or you've been hunting a card for a long time, or you pick it up at a show and it was a memorable pickup, to me adds a lot to it.
Yeah.
And this is a card where there was another card I was going for in a golden auction, and I got outbid, and I was mad because I wanted this other card. And so then I just started looking through, okay, well, the auction's ending soon. Is there anything else? And I found this, and I'm like, that's a really good deal for that card. And it was never on my list of something I set out for, but I felt like it was like this really good deal. So I bought it, and I'm glad I have it, and I like having it, but it's not a card that I always sought after. So, but it's pretty cool.
Just the idea of a young Casey Stengel is just fascinating.
Right.
It's like he's
Yeah.
always been old. Yeah, that's just awesome. But yeah, he was the guy though, man, for your team.
Yeah, my dad's not a big Stengel guy because Casey Stengel kind of, in my dad's eyes, Casey Stengel kind of screwed Whitey Ford, because what he did is, instead of having Whitey pitch like every fifth day or every it was probably every fourth day then, he would save him, and he would give him an extra day rest or pitch him on short rest to go up against the other team's their ace.
Number one.
And so for like 2 years, Whitey Ford had to go up against the top pitcher of the other team, and it kind of hurt Whitey's stats. And if you look at right after that, like the year after Stengel left, Whitey had like 25 wins or something. And it was like what would have been Whitey's stats, who was obviously really good anyway, if he didn't have to go up against the other team's ace every single time he pitched.
Yeah, that's an interesting theory. Obviously, it holds water, but it's not something I hear talked about a lot. It's very, very interesting. But yeah, he was still awesome. Of course, in the playoffs and everything, he's got that Mariano kind of thing where it's just, and Bob Gibson, the guys that just not only did it in the regular season, they knew how to do it on the big stage. So very, very awesome. So is there any more?
I got one left here.
Okay.
So this is.
We all went, oh, this is great.
Eddie Sykot. I used to think it was pronounced Sykot, but I think I've heard it pronounced Sykot. But he was a member of the Black Sox, so he was banned from baseball. And so with the recent lifting of the ban for all deceased players, you've heard a lot about Pete Rose and Shoeless Joe, but there was other guys included as well. He was one of them. And I have this caramel card that I've never shown before. Of course, he's with the Red Sox here. This is a few years prior to his time with Chicago, but yeah, another guy who was recently reinstated.
I've always heard Seacott, but I don't know. But that actual red sock on the uniform there with the background, that is just beautiful.
Yeah.
That is a beautiful card.
Yeah.
A beautiful card.
I bought this many years ago, not even having any clue about who he was or anything. Just because the image really, really spoke to me as a Red Sox fan with that sock on the uniform and the red background. And then later, found out the backstory, which made it even cooler being on the Black Sox. But it's Philadelphia Caramel, E95.
What year is that?
1909.
Okay, so T206 era.
Right around. And the front looks almost identical to a T206, but the back is just a checklist back, essentially.
No, right.
So,
same kind of thing, just kind of the checklist. I don't think we ever talked about this, Greg, but whenever, obviously you already loved Clemens with the Red Sox. He went and won a couple Triple Crowns with the Blue Jays, but how did you feel after that when you found out he was going to the Yankees? Do you even remember that moment when you first found that out?
Oh yeah. So I don't want to add 20 minutes to this, but so I became such a big Clemens fan that for several years I rooted for the Red Sox because Clemens was my guy and I wanted to see my guy win a World Series. And so my dad, I think, just held his nose for a couple of years as I was like rooting for Tom Brunansky home runs and stuff, because
Just owning Graig over here.
like I want Roger to win. I mean, I was always a 49er fan, and then I was a Yankee fan, and then I was a player fan. Like there were certain players that I liked, and I never
Yep.
really I was always sort of like the arch rival guy. Like I didn't ever go for like Jordan. Like, Jordan. Everybody likes Jordan. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna root for someone else. Like, Clyde Drexler. I like Clyde Drexler.
Contrarian. I love it.
Whoever, I was always a contrarian. And again, like I mentioned earlier, that's why I went for Clemens. So I was pissed when the Red Sox, the famous, he's in the twilight of his career. I was pissed about that. I hated the Blue Jays. So the fact that he went to the Blue Jays did not make me happy at all. I never rooted for the Blue Jays, but I continued to root for him. And then when I remember hearing, so when he went to the Blue Jays, then I was back to being, I was like a Yankee fan, but I was like just kind of a lukewarm Yankee fan. And then when he went to the Yankees, I'm like, I'm all in again. Like it just brought everything full circle. And then when he went to the Astros, I mean, I went and bought an Astro hat. I wore an Astro hat. They were my National League team. I was a Yankee fan, but I also rooted for the Astros. I mean, that was when the Astros were a National League team, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And now I hate the Astros. Like I hate the Astros. Not quite as much as the Red Sox. So I'm sorry, but I absolutely hate your guys' teams. You guys hate mine too, which is fine.
I'm a Yankee fan. So
I absolutely remember when the
happened.
Yankees signed him. And it was like, honestly, how I felt is I felt relief. I said, oh, good. Now I can be like all in like I want to be. Before it was like, it was always another AL East team, and I was rooting for him, and it was like this whole conflict. So
what did Coach think when he was going to the Yankees? Was he happy for himself as well as you, or?
Yes.
Okay.
He rooted for Clemens even when Clemens was a Red Sox, because I mean, I don't think people understand. Like, people give me crap for, because Clemens has, people can think whatever they want. But I was all in on Clemens. I watched Clemens pitch every time he pitched in Oakland. I went to the game for years. And I met him, and he couldn't have been better to me.
Me too.
And he asked my dad if I wanted to come around the table and stand next to him while my dad took a picture. And like,
nice.
He couldn't have been better. So like, people can say whatever they want. We've all had bad moments, Clemens included. I know Mookie hates him and acts like he doesn't, but that's right. I hate Piazza. Like, I hate Piazza. So, although I did I can't believe I just said that on film, because I had made a treaty with Mookie that I wouldn't talk bad about Piazza anymore.
You broke it.
I feel bad. I didn't. I'm sorry. I broke
Mookie. It wasn't my fault.
Sorry.
My channel,
I didn't. It's these guys' fault. They pulled it out of me. So yeah. So I don't know if I answered the question or not. I don't even know.
I'll show this real quick. I was not at this, but there was some kind of party here in Houston. Obviously, Clemens is a Houston guy. He's always lived here. But there was some kind of party. He and Canseco were on the Blue Jays, together, and they were buddies.
Yeah.
And they were at this charity softball game. This is 1998. But I knew someone that was able to go there through, I don't remember how, but they were there. And I got
That's awesome.
They got an autograph for me. This is the program for that charity softball, and Clemens there. But yeah, they got me an autograph, even though I couldn't go to that. But yeah, they got pictures with, Canseco and Clemens, and, I got all jealous and stuff. But 1998, that was the Blue Jays. Yeah, he won 2 straight pitching triple crowns there after the Red Sox didn't think he was good.
I'm not really enjoying the Red Sox theme here, with giving up on Roger Clemens, trading Jeff Bagwell away.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say this though, Shane. Let me throw this out there. I think Boston is an awesome town. when I visited Boston, I was just like this. I mean, I spent several days in Boston and I could not have enjoyed it more. I can't wait to take my kids. I think it's an awesome town. I grew up a Larry Bird fan, so I rooted for the
Nice.
Celtics for a few years. But I have a ton of respect for Red Sox fans. Like, Red Sox fans to me are like real baseball fans. And there are some teams where I'm like, they come and they go and they're just kind of like, you know, how's the wind blowing this year, you know? And that's why I can't, well, I'm going to get myself into trouble, but I have a ton of respect for Red Sox fans.
Yeah.
I loved Fenway Park.
The history there.
When I wore Yankee crap to Fenway Park, the fans were not nasty to me. They were just like, oh, you freaking Yankee fans. Like, just, it was like lighthearted. Like, I've got no issue with any Red Sox fans, and my experiences have been honestly good. And there are some Red Sox I really like. I really liked Nomar Garciaparra. I really liked that guy. I don't like Veritek, you know. There's a few I don't like, but I mean, there are some guys on there. I liked Wade Boggs all the way through. You know, there's Greenwell and Ellis Burks. Those are good dudes. Like,
yeah, I loved Clemens. I loved Boggs, and loved Nomar when he came up. He was just fun to watch. But yeah, I was not a Poppy fan at the time because I was rooting for the Yankees, and you know, he
Well, thanks. You guys made me feel a little bit better about us just giving away 2 generational talents. So
yeah.
Exactly. Well, and then Nomar really did it right, and he married Mia Hamm. So I'm like, you know, I mean, me as a soccer guy, Shane and I, we like Mia Hamm. I mean, I don't know about you, Shane, but Mia Hamm, I'm good with Mia Hamm, dude. So
Nomar's a smart man.
Yeah, no doubt. But I like those new green monster colored uniforms they just released recently too. Those are pretty neat alternate uniforms that the Red Sox have. But yeah, I have no hate for any of these teams. I just love the game. I love the history of the game. It's really what brought me to cards in the first place, is just baseball and the whole history of it. But normally we do this at the beginning, but since we had a guest, we kind of dove into everything. But let's do our shout outs of the month. And we each will have one. I will start out with mine. I'm going to go with Rev Steve over at Rev Steve's Cards. And since we're talking about him, he just sent me some Astros. He saw that video where I'm being like Shane and starting a Franken set of Astros players. And he's got a Bagwell. He's got the one with all 3. He sent me a Kenny Lofton Astros card. Sent me a Biggio. And he sent me a Jordan Chrome. He sent me this one, Graig. I don't have this one. It's an ESPN Astros Clemens. Really cool looking card because he'd always hold his glove up like that. And then you got the.
Oh, trust me, I did it when I was on the.
Exactly.
I hold it here, hand in next, then go back. I did it. I mean, it was.
Then we got the 73 Jimmy Wynn. Super cool. So these will go in the Franken set for sure. And then he saw I was showing these cards the other day with these home run heroes, and he sent me the Sosa. So. Thank you, Steve. That is not why I'm shouting you out, but it works out really, really well. But at Rev Steve Cards, he is a super, super good guy. Go check him out. Go sub, all that kind of stuff.
For me, when there's a channel that I just think is criminally undersubscribed, I'll just beat it and beat it and beat it until the horse is long since gone. And I've done that with Mookie. I've done that with my buddy Tony. Tony's starting to get up there on subs now.
He's up quick.
Backed off a little bit, but my guy, Lonely Basement.
Yeah.
I mean, you did the video on him the other day. I really, really like his channel. And I think that he is
Yankee lover,
extremely entertaining. And I know it's Yankee centric, but you know, it's like when you hear other people talk about, oh, everybody's been chasing the hits forever. And then, you know, he shows, you know, like a Rick Cerrone card. And you're just like, no, that's not, you're wrong. Actually, that's not how it's always been. Like there are people who just collect their team. And I have so much respect for that. And, you know, I think he's got a great channel. So
Yeah, he's not super small or super new, but he's absolutely one
he's
of my
only
best.
got 400 subs, and he's
400.
at right at 100 videos. But
Yeah,
Lonely Basement Baseball Cards is I'm gonna keep beating that drum because he deserves more.
yeah.
I enjoy every one. I thought that your imitation was good. I think I probably could have done a little better, but it was pretty good.
Good luck with that. Yeah, I'd love to see both of you guys try to do some of that stuff. That's fun. But no, I did it just. I mean, I love the guy.
Yeah.
He's absolutely one of my best friends in the hobby. He's just a great guy. He's a true collector. Collects for the right reasons. He's not pretentious. None of that kind of stuff.
Well, let me throw out too. I didn't know this until he made his video on Strongsville, but it would have been Saturday evening at Strongsville. I was sitting next to him at Ash's case, and he's looking at the 34 Graig that he ended up buying. He's like, "What do you think of that card?" And I'm like, "Dude, low grade, high eye appeal, like awesome card, like character. It's an awesome card." Like he's like, "Yeah, I'm really thinking about it." And he went back the next day and he bought it. And I was like, I didn't know it until I saw this video, and I was just like, "Yes, dude! Like that's what I want to see," you know?
Yeah,
So that was cool.
he said that you said that it was the exact same kind of card that you'd be buying if you were
Yeah,
buying one. So
100%. Yeah.
yeah, no, Keith is awesome. Shout out again. Just love the guy.
I'm going to go with a new channel for my newest channel, Jeff over at Jatto31. It's like JATTO 31. I think he's got maybe a half dozen videos. He just started recently. I think I found out about him. Dylan gave him a shout out. I ended up checking out his channel. I've watched quite a few of his videos, but just great collection, down to earth, quick videos, easy to get through, and just getting started out. So obviously could use the help and traction in the sea of YouTube content that's out there. So Jeff at Jatto31, I'll give my shout out to.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I saw the post from Dylan. That's when I went over and subbed as well. And he's got the subtitle of a fine card collector, and I think that's, if you search, that kind of what comes up. But
yeah, I think one of the things he mentioned in an early video, I think he sold the majority of his collection a few years back and has been kind of re-entering and rebuilding it. And that's something that kind of resonates with me too. I've been doing a ton of selling and purging, so I've really been enjoying his videos.
Yeah, you've been doing more selling than buying lately, for sure. That's not, we don't talk about that kind of stuff a lot on YouTube. Most people just talk about pickups and stuff, but there's another side to it. And I sold some stuff to buy that Will Clark card that I'm talking about. Just, that's the kind of the way it goes in this hobby. You kind of, if you want something big, you got to sacrifice something. So that's it. We got the shout outs. So go sub to all those guys. Just show them some love, support, throw some comments out there. But guys, this was an absolute blast. I know Graig has to get on to another recording of some sort. So you guys are super busy. I'm glad we were able to finally make this happen. This is super awesome. You are two of my favorite human beings. So I really appreciate you carving out the time, obviously, to do this. And any last words from you guys?
No, none here. I appreciate you joining us, Graig. It was awesome to have you as our first guest, and it's always good catching up with you.
Well, I appreciate you guys thinking of me, and I obviously had a lot of fun, and you guys both know I love you. So
yeah, love you guys to death. We will see you soon. We'll be talking soon, and we'll see you guys later.